Now we've just arrived at the Ahuriri River. There's a little section here which they call the Horseshoe Bend, and it's a little offshoot of the river, almost like a little lake or a little tarn. And fish will cruise along in here looking for, either dries and nymphs and things like that. But because there's not a breath of wind on this cracking day, we've got to be pretty careful. So we'll fish back a little bit from the water and hopefully spot a fish, put something out in front of it, and get to show you what they're like pretty close up. Again, we're just pays to keep moving, just looking into the water trying to find something. We've got one rising just out there, just under the surface, so we'll give him a go with the little dry, and we've also got the blowfly on. See if he'll accept that. If not, again, we might go down to like perhaps a little emerger pattern or something like that. But just got to try different things and persist, and eventually, fingers crossed, something will work. We've just got one. Here he comes over. He's having a look. Come over and had a look at it, but as soon as it hit the water, here he comes again, and he's turned off. So he's had a couple of looks at that nymph and hasn't eaten it. Now we've spotted a couple of cruising fish and presented like the dry and the nymph. They're having a look at the nymph but not taking it, so that's a good indication that you've got to change. So what I've gone down to is even a smaller nymph and a little, it's like no weight at all, so no bead. So because they've got plenty of time in here, like in a lake, plenty of time to look at the fly and make sure it's exactly what they're going to eat, you've got to make sure you've got something and you can change it to make sure that they do eat it. So we've gone to a smaller and an unweighted, and we'll see if that'll work. So we've gone down to the little fly, just a little unweighted, little nymph pattern. So hopefully that'll work. Oh, there he is. Right, good enough. Here he comes, he's coming over to look at it. It was a twitch maybe. We've just got one just in the shallows, heading around about to our fly. I've got a cicada pattern on and a little nymph underneath. He's coming straight across now, he's in a hurry, which is good. Oh, and he didn't like it. I'm not sure whether that came out, whether you could see that fish or not, but he's come right over to it, he's looked at it and he's about to eat it, and then there's something that triggers that there's something wrong and he's gone. That can be either the fly's perhaps too big. We are with a cicada, so it's not probably ideal this sort of time anyway, but sometimes you just need to change it again. It could be your leader, might even be floating. We might need to put a bit of sink on it to maybe get it under the surface so it doesn't stand out. But when you see things like that, you know there's something wrong. So don't continue to do what you're doing. You've got to change it. And eventually you'll get something that works. Here he comes. Oh. Yes. Now that has taken an awful long time. We've just persisted so often with different flies and changing, and we've gone to it's a blowfly. I'll show you a bit later. It's fluorescent blue, and it was just a matter. Well, you're hoping it's a matter of time, and sure enough, plonk it in front. And he's straight onto it. You know, he sees a good little bit of food there, and he's come up to get it. I mean, he's not going to be like the biggest ones we've seen today. We've seen some monsters in here that are probably, you know, 6-7 pounds, you know, even could be even a lot bigger. This one's still going to be a great fish. He'll be, you know, a good, you know, 3 or 4 pound, but they're all great. They're all great fish. It's just finally to get one to grab, it's just a relief. So when he wants to go, just let him go, and you set the drag, and if he wants to go, he'll just pull the line off and it'll protect your tippet. So pays to have a decent reel, particularly in a place like New Zealand. I always talk about rods just while I'm playing this fish. This is an air 6 weight and it's quite a fast action. Normally you might have to cast into the wind or with some big flies. There's obviously no wind now, but it certainly helps when you get a nice fish and you've got to steer him round. You want something that's got a good solid butt section and a little bit soft at the tip for his lunges. So just helps to get a decent rod with a good fast action, and it's going to make your fishing in New Zealand against these big fish a lot more enjoyable. Now this is the crucial time when you go to net the fish. So you have a nice light drag, so if he does make a lunge on a short line, he can take it. And you've got all the time in the world. He's taken a long time to get the fish to take your fly, so don't rush it when you're trying to net him. So you try and get him on a nice short line, and you don't want to be chasing him around with the net. You want the fish to come to you and his head to be up, and then you can virtually lead him straight to the net and scoop him up. And finally, it's all worthwhile once you get a fish like that in the net. Makes it all worthwhile. All those fly changes, all the tippet changes, every little bit of thought that we've had to put into it makes it worthwhile when it finally works. And that's why you go fly fishing. We'll get that out. So there you have it. We've got an Ahuriri brown out of the Horseshoe Bend, right up in the upper Ahuriri. And this was not even a big fish that we've seen. So some of these ones, we've just weighed this one, and he's 5 1/4. So some of these other fish that we've been seeing have got to be 7, 8. You know, I mean, this is still an amazing fish, don't get me wrong, but once you see some of the other ones that are bigger than this, you go, you got to love New Zealand. Let's get him back in the water. Again, least time out of the water is very important. So get him back in the water, and he'll just take a little bit of time. He's got a little bit of power in him now. Just let him swim away of his own accord, and he'll be right here for when you come across to New Zealand and experience what this lovely place can offer. Now this is the fly we've gone to. It's a what they call a New Zealand blowfly, and as you can see, the underneath is like a fluorescent blue with a black top and some white there. But it may look something extraordinary that you wouldn't normally use, but believe me, once you see the bush blowflies, they're certainly that colour, and it obviously works here in the Ahuriri. So that's all we've got time for on today's episode. So I hope you've enjoyed it and seeing what can happen in New Zealand on, you know, some great days, and even when there's snow, you know, this is the place to go. So I look forward to seeing you next week on The Fly.